Hey there guys, today we're going to take a look at our fourth lesson in our circle unit on equations of circles. To go along with this lesson, I've also linked the notes that we did, the completed notes from class, the 14.7 and the 14.8, just in case you want to take a look back at those. But for this one, we're going to look at our equations of circles. So looking at the third slide, it gives a really nice objective for what we're going to be looking at. We are going to look at coming up with or calculating the equation of a circle given its center and radius, and then also looking at completing the square to find the center and radius of a circle given by an equation. So looking at this first slide, go ahead and pause it, take a chance to go ahead and read through that introduction that they've got for you there. And then looking at this fifth slide, this is what we did and talked about in class. They use, with this software, they use a lot with the distance formula. Whenever we did this together in class, we used Pythagorean's theorem to work with that. So we made our right triangle and we did our a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Which is our radius that we're looking for. So that's what you need to remember out of this slide. You're welcome to read and use the distance information if you would like, but I'm just fine with you still using Pythagorean theorem the way we did in class. Go ahead and read through this sixth slide. It gives you a couple examples, talks about what they're looking at. For the seventh slide, for the equation of the circle activity, I want you to go ahead and click on the equation of a circle in GeoGebra. And whenever I got here, I had a lot of trouble reading and looking and see what this is. But if you just click and drag this guy over here, it makes it really easy to see. Go ahead and take a chance to play with the sliders. Remember, H is going to be the X value of your center. And if these are hard for you to read, you can scooch them wherever it makes it easier for you to read too. Remember, H is that X value of our center, K is the Y value, and R stands for the radius. So go ahead and take a chance just to slide those sliders around, play with them, see where things end up. And that's kind of all I want you to do with this activity was kind of just to play, see where things end up, watch this. This was our standard form and equation for a circle. Watch what happens to those numbers. And don't forget, whenever you see the minus and the negative and we're writing the equation for an answer, that does end up being a positive. And if you were to write this as an answer, you would need to square it out. So like, whereas here you'll see they'll do 1 squared and then they'll do 2 squared. If you were to write this down or see this as an answer in a problem, they would be writing this as 4. Okay, so go ahead and take a chance to play with that. Remember how those rules work. I am not going to expect you to fill out this table. We did this in class and talked about all these kinds of things. As long as you're not having any trouble remembering those rules, don't worry about this at all. It just reiterates what we talked about in class. Go ahead and go over, and there's that standard form that I was talking to you about. And there's where they show you the H, K, or the center of your circle, that XY point. H is your X, K is your Y, and R stands for your radius. And remember that this says the opposite of whatever you're looking at. So if this is a positive 2, this is going to read negative 2. And if this is a negative 3, this is going to be minus a negative 3, which is going to be a plus 3. And then go ahead and do these practice problems. If you'd like, you can go back over here to the sliders and make your sliders match what they need to in the picture. So like looking at here, this is my H value for my center. So I'm going to go over here to my H value and it's already there. So I'm going to leave it there. And then my K value is -5. So I'm going to take my K, is it -5? Okay, just making sure I read it right. So K value is -5. And then radius is 4. 3, 4. So then you can look and you can use that to help you pick your equation that you're going to go with. So remember, minus the negative's got to be the plus, and you've got to square out that 4, but that should help you get through these next 2 slides. Ideally, I would hope that you would remember and be able to do without the sliders, but if not, and you've got trouble, there's you a tool for you to be able to use. Okay, so there's those 2 practice problems you can go through and do. And that kind of wraps up talking about just looking at the equation of the circle and using that kind of thing. This part of the lesson gets into completing the square. And for completing the square, those were our 14.8 notes that we did together in class. And the steps that we used in class are on the back of this worksheet. And then there's a couple more problems. You can kind of, if you're looking for more practice, you can cover up the answers that we have for you there and work through the problems and do them that way if you'd like. That's totally up to whatever you want to do, but just in case you needed more information, there's your more information. The program does do a pretty good job of talking you through what's going on. So like you could sit down, and since this is review, you could sit down and write this down and then write down what you think the next step's going to be. And then double check what the next step is with whenever you click the next slide, see if what you have matches what they have. And they've divided everything by 3. Since there was a number in front of here, they divided everything by 3, and then they moved on from there. That is not something that we covered in class, but is the first step that they did here. So this would pretty much pick up with what we did in class. So this would start your sorting step. So pretty much if you're looking at an x and a y that has a leading coefficient in front, you're going to have to divide out that number because our graphing rule only works whenever there's a 1 in front of both the x squared and the y squared. Okay, so you can go ahead and work through that, see how you do, see how you remember those steps. And it works you all the way down to where you get those. And then it talks about the difference on this slide. It talks to you about the difference between general form and standard form. And standard form is more, I feel, is more useful because you can take that information and then use it right away to be able to graph whatever you're looking at. Remember, when you're looking at standard form, you do the opposite for your x and y values, so that's why they're at the +1, -2, and our radius is 3 because remember this is r squared, so you've got to take the square root of that 9 to be able to get your radius. Just sometimes whenever you're working with the information, the only way you end up with it whenever you get it is this way. And so the whole purpose of doing the completing the square method is being able to get from general form to standard form. And so with this lesson activity, looking here, this is another chance to get a practice at completing the square and seeing how you can do. So you can use that one and complete the square. I do not want you typing the steps and reasons into that box. Just don't do it. Don't worry about it. Do your workout on your own. Figure out what you think the answer is, and then hit the submit button and compare what you have to what the program has. And then you'll be okay. Reading through these, we're not going to worry about those. If you would like to do them for more practice, feel free, but I do not expect you to do that.